Hello everybody and welcome to my Lightroom tutorial series called Image Potential, where I get a image straight out of camera and I try to make it into something wonderful, give it a lot of punch, and just to see what an image you can do with an image in 10-15 minutes. Alright, so I've got this water splashing on this dock here in Istanbul with a bench, and I really like this image. I see a lot of, it's got a blue cast to it. My color balance is 5500, but I'm seeing a lot of potential warmness in the sky here. And I love the way the water came out really sharp. My shutter speed was, what was my shutter speed? 800th of a second at f4 at ISO 1250 with my 100mm lens. So it's good exposure. Good exposure. I gave myself a lot of... I underexposed it a little bit because I didn't want to blow out the water highlights. That was really important that I got full detail in the brightest parts of the scene, and my blacks are good. So let's begin here. So what should I do first? Let me get rid of this stuff on the top there. All right, so it's pretty flat. I want to put in a bit of contrast to begin with. So instead of using the slider bar here in the basic module, I'm going to go down to my tone curve and drop down my shadows and bring up my highlights, and like so. And I'm looking at the histogram, making sure I don't blow them out, do this kind of thing. So I want to get a nice, that's pretty contrasty tone curve there. So my highlights are a bit hot now, and my blacks have my shadows have gone a bit dark, but I want that. I don't want too much detail in the bench, or do I? No, I don't. So let me go back up here to, it looks a bit bright. I want to make this really moody because it was a stormy day and it was really kind of grim, and I was actually shooting under an umbrella. So I'm gonna try to capture some of that mood again by bringing my exposure down. And that looks good, and you can see the colors pop out more, the warm colors. And let's see the contrast. I'll go a bit more contrast here, and I want to so I want to bring out the blue in the water. I want to give it kind of like it's frozen, like an ice-like feel, and I want to bring out the warm tones in the sky. So let me put a little clarity in there for some detail. Let me zoom in here so you can see that. Yeah, so a little bit of clarity in there. I like the little piece of green seaweed in there. Got splashed up. Yeah, it's got some great detail in here. So I'm liking it so far. So let me, first of all, I'm going to straighten this bench because it's a bit crooked. There we go. And then I'm going to get this big old black spot out of here. Hit Q for my clone tool. There we go. Get rid of that. I'll do that spot there too, and that will work. All right. Now I've got my tone curve adjusted. I got my contrast with this nice curve here. I'm going to see what it looks like to bring down the highlights in the basic module. Ooh, moody. I really kind of like that dark mood. But if you look at a lot of my photography, I do like low key. So let me see if I can punch up the whites in the water ice thing here and bring down the highlights a bit more. Well, that looks pretty cool. Let's see where the shadows go. If I can bring up a little bit of detail on the bench there. No, but maybe I'll use a localized shadow adjustment because it seems to be getting some of the mid-tones also, and I don't really want to do that. Let's see the blacks. Well, the blacks are in the mid-tones also. So I've kind of flattened it out. I might even, you look at the histogram here, I've kind of flattened it out with my tone curve a little bit too much, so I'm going to bring that up a little bit. Yeah, and then I'm going to let me bring this back here, and then bring my shadows down a bit. And the contrast up again, because I like that. There we go. Let's see the before and after already. Okay, so got a lot of contrast, brought the tones down. Now what I'm going to do is work with the color. So I'm going to close my tone curve for the moment, and I'm going to go down to my HSL, and I'm going to grab the the adjustment tool and put it right over these warm tones. And you can see over here in the box here, when I put it over there, I get orange and yellow, right? Those are the ones that are going to be adjusted when I drag. I click, hold it down. Oh, and this, I'm working saturation here, so okay, so that's 100%. You can see it's taken the orange and the yellow up to almost 100, but I'll bring that down a little bit. And then come over here and slide that. I don't want it to look too saturated. Let's see. Let's try the luminance here with the same tool. Okay, so I can making that a little bit darker. So I've got some yellow and orange on the negative side. I'm not going to mess with the hue because I like the colors. So I'll put the tool back, close this. My sharpening, I'll just use a basic sharpening because I'll spend too much time sharpening. All right, so I'm gonna put a bit of a mask on here, but not too much. I really don't like using the mask heavily. Let's go 100% and look at that. A little bit, oh, no, I need some noise reduction there. That works. Bring the detail up a bit. There we go. That's good for now. Okay, so let's look at our before and after. So how many minutes have been here? 10 minutes already? 7 minutes according to my timer here. Looks pretty good. Let's see what else we could do with this. All right. Lens correction, of course. I forgot to do that. That's supposed to be on import, but this image came in a different way. Camera calibration. Okay, so what I'd like to do now, since I don't have too much clarity in here, just plus 39, I like to go down to the dehaze and slide that up to see what happens. Now it's an effect, and you can get really kind of gross if you do it too much, but a little bit of haze can actually separate my water from the background, because it is a bit hazy. You can see back here, got a lot of haze. Out of focus haze, so maybe get that about plus 12. Oh, this is getting a bit unnatural looking, but that's okay. I want this to look like ice, and I want it to look like a nice warm sky behind there. That's working pretty well. So I'm at plus 35 clarity. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. All right, so what I didn't do in the HSL was my blue. I've got that blue color here, and I'm going to see. Okay, so it is blue. I grabbed the adjustment tool, and I'm over the clouds and the water, and they're definitely blue. It's not cyan, so I'm going to go a little bit. Oh, luminance. Oh yeah, let's try luminance first. Let me go a little bit brighter with the blue there. And that's about, that looks pretty good. And saturation, see what that could do with that. Yeah, because with the dehaze in there, it was just looking a little bit kind of fakeish. Yeah, so I like that there with the dehaze, and I'm going to go back to the orange here and bring that saturation down. It's a bit too much. It's looking a bit too done. So I'm bringing that down a little bit. It's starting to look a bit more magenta there. No. Yellow. I think I'll bring the orange up and the yellow down. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like the color. Let me see what that looks like full screen. What do you think? Should I put more detail in this bench here? I think the colors in the bench are a bit distracting from the water. Didn't really like it. I've tried that before. But let's see what it looks like when I open up those blacks a little bit on the bench. It's going too much into my midtones. I'm going to Control Z that one. And then I'm going to go up to the tone curve. And I'm going to pick this bottom spot and just bring that up a little bit. Just a tiny bit. There we go. And then maybe bring that down there like this. So let's toggle that back. There we go. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So let's see the before and after again. Well, so 10 minutes. Pulled out a lot of detail, pulled out a lot of color in this image. Kind of completely transformed it, made it into something a lot more impactful. You can see the water is really separated from the background now. The colors in the sky, the tonality of the clouds, even I was just completely a lot more detail from this well exposed but unprocessed image. I hope you like that. Let me just see, because I say in the video I'm done, but there's always a little bit more I can try to do. Let me just mess with the clarity here for a sec. Let's see, 100%. The more clarity I put, the more ice-like the water gets, which is pretty cool, but it's starting to look pretty fake. So let me bring that down just a little bit. And the vibrance, I haven't put any vibrance in there. See, I knew that wouldn't work. Double click that to go back to 0. And we could mess with the color channels here. And if you're in your tone curve, if you have the channels here, you can have RGB, red, green, and blue, and you can individually mess with the color channels. So I drag that to that side, and that puts a little bit more yellow. Then I could grab this here and put a little bit more blue into the highlights. So this is really hardly any adjustment at all. You might slightly see that. That just gives it a bit more. Looks a bit green in here now, so I'll go back down to the magenta green and add some. Add a little bit of magenta. There we go. Just a little bit. If I double click that, you'll see. Yeah, it's just a little bit. You can barely see it move. I don't even know if I can. It did nothing. Let me see. There we go. That looks pretty good. All right, let me toggle that on and off. So that's my tone curve. That's what it's done. It's pretty good. I'm not sure if I like the magenta so much, but I'll leave it. Now let's try a bit of vignetting on the edge. Just a little bit. Go to -3. There we go. All right. I'd say that's good for now. I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial. If there's any questions, put it in the comments, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. If you liked it, subscribe. I'm planning on starting up and doing these a little bit more, and I hope you find them informative. Thank you very much.